Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our discussion today. We are looking at a question many schools and parents are thinking about. Should students use smartphones during school hours? To help us understand this topic better, we have two guests. Mr. David Chen, who believes smartphones can be good for learning, and Mrs. Sarah Jones, who has some worries about them in schools. Each guest will share their ideas, and then we will have a discussion. Welcome, Mr. Chen and Mrs. Jones.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. It's a pleasure to be here to talk about this important subject. I believe that smartphones can be very helpful tools for students in school, when used correctly. Think about it. These devices give students quick access to a lot of information on the internet. They can use educational apps to learn new things in interesting ways, like interactive quizzes or language learning programs. For example, if a student is curious about a topic in history, they can find articles, videos, and maps in just a few seconds. This makes learning more active and personal for them. Also, using smartphones helps students learn important digital literacy skills. They learn how to find good information online, how to use different digital tools, and how to be responsible online citizens. These are skills that are very important for their future jobs and for life in general. Smartphones can also help students stay organized. They can use calendars for homework and school events and take notes easily. I understand that there are worries about distraction, like games or social media, but I think we can manage these risks with clear rules and by teaching students how to use their phones responsibly. It's about guiding them, not just banning the technology. We can teach them to focus and use phones as a tool, not a toy, during class. So I think smartphones can be a positive part of education if we plan how to use them well.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. I appreciate the chance to share my thoughts on this. While Mr. Chen makes some interesting points, I believe that smartphones are a big problem in schools and can be quite harmful to the learning environment. My main worry is distraction. Students have so many things on their phones: games, social media, messages from friends. It is very hard for them to stop paying attention to their phones and focus on the lesson. Even if they try to use them for schoolwork, the temptation to quickly check a message or a notification is always there. This means they are not fully listening to the teacher or taking part in class activities. Another serious issue is cyberbullying. When students have phones all the time, bullying can happen anytime, anywhere, even during school hours. This can make school feel unsafe for many children, and it's very difficult for teachers to control. Also, I think having phones all the time reduces real social interaction. Students might sit together but be on their phones, so they talk less to each other face to face. This is not good for developing their communication skills or friendships. Finally, not all students have the newest smartphones or even a smartphone at all. This can create inequality in the classroom if some students have access to these tools and others do not. Schools should be places where all students have the same chance to learn, without these kinds of pressures. So I think it's better to keep personal smartphones out of the classroom during school hours to protect our students' learning and well-being.
Mrs. Jones raises some valid concerns, and I understand why she feels that way. However, I believe we can find solutions to these problems without a complete ban. About distraction, yes, it can be an issue. But schools can create clear policies on when and how phones can be used. For example, phones could be allowed only for specific tasks given by the teacher or at certain times. We also need to guide students on self-control and responsible use, which is an important life skill itself. Regarding cyberbullying, this is a serious problem that needs attention, with or without phones in class. Banning phones in class won't stop cyberbullying completely, as it can happen outside school hours. The better way is to teach digital citizenship, respect, and empathy from a young age. Schools can have programs to help students understand the impact of their online actions. As for social skills, phones don't always stop interaction. They can actually help with collaborative projects. Students can work together on documents, share ideas quickly, or research as a team using their devices. This prepares them for modern workplaces where teamwork often involves digital tools. The benefits of quick information access, learning new digital skills, and personalized learning are too important to ignore. We should focus on managing the risks, not removing the tool entirely.
Mr. Chen suggests that policies and guidance can manage the problems, but I am not so sure it's that simple in a busy school day. He talks about the educational use of phones. But how much are they really used for learning compared to entertainment or social media? It's one thing to say they can be used for research, but another to ensure that's what's happening consistently. If schools want students to use technology, it's better to use school-provided devices like tablets or laptops. These can be controlled better, with limited apps and internet access focused only on education. About digital literacy, students can certainly learn these skills, but they don't need their personal phones in every class to do so. Dedicated computer classes or specific lessons using school tech can teach digital citizenship and research skills effectively. And relying on teachers to enforce phone policies all the time is very difficult. Teachers already have a lot to do. Adding, quote, phone police to their job takes time away from teaching. Even with rules, students are clever and can find ways to use their phones without the teacher noticing. My concerns about distraction, the potential for cyberbullying during school hours, and the impact on genuine social connection remain strong. I believe the classroom should be a protected space for focused learning, and personal smartphones often work against that goal.
Thank you both for those points. Mr. Chen, Mrs. Jones mentioned the difficulty for teachers to control phone use. How can schools realistically ensure phones are used mainly for learning and not for other things, given these concerns about teacher control?
That's a fair question. It requires a school-wide approach, not just individual teachers. Clear guidelines agreed upon by teachers, students, and parents are the first step. Training for teachers on how to integrate phones effectively into lessons is also important. Some schools use classroom management software that can help monitor or guide device use. But most importantly, it's about creating a culture of responsible use. When students understand the why behind the rules and see the benefits for their learning, they are more likely to cooperate.
Mrs. Jones, you've argued for keeping phones out. But Mr. Chen highlighted the importance of digital skills for the future. If we ban personal phones completely from schools, are we possibly hindering students from learning these vital skills in a real-world context?
I don't believe we are hindering them, Ms. Evans. As I said, digital literacy can be taught effectively through other means. Schools can have computer labs, provide tablets for specific projects, and have dedicated lessons on online safety and research. Learning these skills in a structured way with school-owned technology can be more focused and equitable than relying on personal phones. The real world also has times and places where phone use is not appropriate, and learning that discipline is also a skill.
This is clearly a complex issue with strong arguments on both sides. What about a middle ground? For example, perhaps allowing phones only for certain lessons approved by the teacher, or maybe only for older students in high school. Could such compromises work?
A middle ground approach is certainly something to consider, and is often more practical than a complete ban or unrestricted access. Allowing phones for specific, teacher-led activities makes sense. The teacher can direct students to useful apps or websites for a particular lesson. For older students, there could be more flexibility, as they are generally more responsible. This could also help them prepare for university or work environments where they manage their own devices. However, even with a middle ground, clear rules and expectations are still very important for it to work well. It would require careful planning and consistent application across the school.
A middle ground might sound reasonable, but it can also create new problems. Who decides which lessons are suitable for phone use? Will it be consistent across all classes and teachers? It could lead to confusion for students and more arguments about when phones are allowed. And for older students, while they might be more mature, The temptations are still there, and the academic pressure is higher, making focus even more critical. I still believe that if technology is needed, school-provided devices are a better option because they offer more control and ensure all students have equal access to the same tools. A partial allowance might just make the boundaries blurrier and harder to manage effectively.
In summary, I firmly believe that smartphones can be very beneficial in education when we have proper guidelines and a thoughtful approach. They offer access to information, help develop essential digital skills, and can make learning more engaging. A total ban might mean missing out on these advantages. Instead, we should work on creating a balanced environment where phones are used responsibly as learning tools. Technology is a part of our students' lives and our future. Let's teach them how to use it well in all settings, including school. It's about education and guidance, not just restriction.
To conclude, while I understand the potential of technology, I believe the risks of allowing personal smartphones in schools, especially during class time, currently outweigh the benefits. The problems of distraction, potential for misuse like cyberbullying, and the impact on focused learning and social skills are too significant. Schools should be dedicated learning environments where students can concentrate without these constant interruptions. If digital tools are needed, schools should aim to provide appropriate, controlled devices to ensure fair access and maintain focus on education. Protecting the learning environment must be our top priority.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chen and Mrs. Jones, for sharing your different views and thoughtful arguments today. We've heard strong points for smartphones as educational tools and equally strong concerns about distraction and other risks. It's clear this is a complex issue with no easy answers, and the discussion about how to best manage technology in schools will surely continue. Thank you to our audience for joining us today for this important conversation.